Rumors spread that the king had been secretly unwell for months, and he had grown to suspect an attempt would be made on his life. The fear, it was whispered, had driven him mad. The king appeared well enough upon our return from Riverstone, and every night since, but who knew what happened behind closed doors? Only the king's most trusted advisors, his physician, and his children were permitted access to the sickbed. The princess visited him in private several times, and always emerged dabbing her eyes, but I suspected her concern was an act. Something foul is afoot. Hello friends, I'm Mandy Schimmelpfennig, and I'm the historical fantasy author of the Rise of Riverstone. I am exhausted. I've been editing, I've been working on final cover designs for the Pride of Riverstone, so I thought today we're going to have a little craft day. If you've read the Rise of Riverstone, you know some things go down that are a little bit suspicious. So I thought I would do a little prop play and make a poison bottle. These were inkwells. You can also use what we'll be using today, which are cute little liquor bottles. Please drink responsibly. And we're going to show you how to make this look old and look like a poison bottle. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all of my supplies. So you're going to need wood glue, acrylic paint, paintbrush, water. I also have some things for embellishments. So I have kind of colored twine, metal wire, sponge, beads, and stones. You can definitely find these in any craft store, any kind of colors you like. We're going to stick with kind of the darker, scaly colors. And then the most important part of it is the label, and I will show you how to do that in a little bit, but we're going to prep our bottle. First thing we're going to do is take our wood glue, and we're going to use that to make the bottle look less clear. So old bottles, of course, are going to have a sort of a patina on it, so we're going to make it look a little aged by using this. So we're going to take our bottle, and we're going to apply the wood glue from the top to the bottom, and then use the sponge and kind of dab it around. And try to get it spread as thin as you can. And this will kind of make a frosted look. Don't forget around the top. If you kind of start running out, we'll just apply again another strip and then dab it. You can do multiple layers, but I kind of like just the one. This will dry a little bit clearer than this. So once you have the whole thing covered, you're going to set it aside to dry, and while it's drying, I will show you the next exciting step. So the next thing we're going to do is my favorite part, and that is creating the label for our poison bottle. I use Canva. If you're not familiar with Canva, it is an amazing online program. They have a free version, and you can make mock-ups of your books, for example. Like I make all of my mock-ups in Canva, all of your promotional advertising, and it's just a really fun tool for anybody. I use the pro version. You have access to a lot more tools with that. So this is my home screen. So you have, they already give you a bunch of templates. So for this, I went to create a design, so I made my custom size, which is going to be 1.5 by 1 inch. I already have that over here. Over here, you'll see in the tabs, that's where the elements comes in. You can put in anything you want here, like and it'll give you all kinds of options here. So for this guy, I'm going to start with something like this. So that is going to be like the border. And I might change it because I'm like that, but just to kind of show you, they will pop up with recommendations here based on your selection. Uploads or your own personal photos, text, so pretty self-explanatory. So you can put in image on. I mean, you can't get more obvious than that, right? It's in that bottle. Poison. So my label is out of the printer, and I've cut it out, but not all the way because we're going to do the aging process. So I have a used tea bag, and I'm just going to dab it all over. You can put this in the oven to get it to dry faster, or you could just let it be. I like to have a couple of spots that are extra dark, and that'll just give it a little bit more character. And I'm going to set this aside to dry. Okay, so our next step is to give a little color to this bottle. So right now, it just looks like it's a little frosted, which is cool. I recommend if you're going to put something in the bottle and you want to be able to see it, but you leave it like this. Because I've also done this where I've kind of made the bottle look old and stained. And then when you try to put something in it, you really can't see it very well. There's a lot of great videos out there of people who make potions like glowing liquids and things like that. If you're going to do that, I also recommend maybe just leaving the bottle clear because, again, it's really hard to see those. So I'm going to use my acrylic paint, and I have some water, and I'm basically just going to make a really thin paint, almost like make it like a wash. So then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to start at the top and bring it down. Now I kind of like the little drips that come down the side. I don't know if you can see that, but it adds a little character. We're gonna let that dry. So now our bottle is dry, and it's just a very faint gray hint to it, which is what I was looking for. You can do more layers of paint if that's what you want, but you can kind of just barely see. It just looks like it's been sitting in some ruins for a couple hundred years, and that's kind of what I like. We're gonna start decorating the neck of the bottle. For that, I have my colored kind of twine, and then I have some wire. So I've got some red and kind of like almost like a reddish copper, and then I have a variety of beads, so I'm using mainly black. So to start this guy, I found the easiest for me is to hot glue the ends to the bottle. I've tried tying them, but I find they move around too much. So even though I know it's not authentic, that's how I like to do it. So I'm gonna twine these guys around each other, and then I'm gonna try not to burn myself. Just a little dollop. I am going to try to let that dry a little bit before I start, or let it set. And then I'm going to twine the wire around the rope part as I'm also wrapping it around the bottle. I'm going to do one rotation before I start adding anything to it, because this is the part where I just want to make sure it's really going to stay. So once that is set, I'm going to start threading some of the beads through the wire. At the same time, I'm going to start wrapping it around. I'm going to wrap around and around and around. And I don't really have any pattern that I do. I try to make it look like there isn't a pattern, because I feel like that just looks a little bit more rustic. So I'm just gonna start weaving some of these guys through. I like to kind of make sure that the threads are as close together as I can. So right before I put in the last little bit, this is where I'm gonna kind of hide a little dollop of your hot glue. That's the finished top of the bottle. This is probably more than I usually do, but I like it. So now that we have that part embellished, I'm gonna check to see if my label is dry. If it's not, it's cork. Okay, our label isn't quite dry, so we're gonna work on the cork for our bottle. Now I'm sure you can find tiny little corks, but because I enjoy myself an adult beverage every now and then, I have a lot of wine corks. And I know of a lot of people too who have a ton of these just sitting around not knowing what to do with them. So I have discovered that I can use them for my bottles. So I kind of first try to decide about how big that I want it. So maybe about pretty good size one maybe. And then I will cut it in kind of at the spot where I want it. And this can be kind of tedious because you don't want to take too much off at a time. I think it's kind of worth it because you have a custom cork for it. And then I kind of start by shaving off the sides a little at a time. I like to make sure that all of the label of the wine, if there is one, is removed. So I know this is kind of a small opening, so I know I can take quite a bit off at first. And then it's just kind of a matter of shaving it farther and farther down. I think this is the smallest one I've ever had to do. She's small. There it is. So the next step now is labeling it. Okay, my label has finished drying. The apple parts on the bottom didn't really show up very well, but that's okay. I like the way it looks. So I've decided where I'm gonna place this on my bottle, and I'm gonna use Mod Podge to affix it. And because I'm really DIY, I just use my fingers. So get a nice thin layer on the back. And then center it as best as you can. But it's okay if it's a little bit off, because that'll make it look a little authentic. And then I kind of get more Mod Podge on the front. You can kind of scrunch it a little in places, and that will add a little bit of extra authenticity. Make it look a little bit more aged. Again, and then I just kind of push pieces of it together. If a little bit of it tears, that's also okay. And then this will dry clear. There it is on the bottle. And then we'll be back once it's dry. All right, there it is, our finished ocean bottle. The apple, like I said, didn't really show up as well. I needed a darker image. I really love making these, whether it's just for fun decorations around the house or if it's something world building. Always fun. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out my new YouTube series where I review an indie author. I'm doing that once a month. Like and subscribe for more fun arts and crafts and, general information based on my historical fantasy novels. Thank you so much.